They changed the gender to male because of Donald Trump. It's official, y'all. I am working with the ACLU to sue the Trump administration.
Just when you think things can't get any more absurd, woke activists hit a new low. Up first, you might remember a couple weeks ago in a bonus episode, I touched on a transgender influencer who was going viral for a video complaining about the fact that under the Trump administration's new rules, she could no longer list her sex on her passport as female because as a trans woman, her sex is actually male, and the Trump administration's policy is that that's no longer allowed. You're no longer allowed to put incorrect information on your government documents. The old Biden era rules, which allowed you to put whatever sex you felt like, or even an X if you said you were non-binary, even though no human being's sex is non-binary, those rules have gone the way of the dodo bird. But this video went viral where a trans woman influencer named Zaya Persian complained about the situation.
In case you're wondering what it's like being transgender under this new administration, I just got my new passport in the mail and they changed the gender to male because of Donald Trump. I'm in danger now. Trust. This is only the beginning, babe. Y'all done pissed off the wrong transformer.
Well, we got a big update and now Zaya is suing with the help of the ACLU, suing the Trump administration. Let's take a look at her video explaining what she's doing and why.
It's official, y'all. I am working with the ACLU to sue the Trump administration. Now, you're probably wondering, why on earth am I suing Donald Trump? Well, you may or may not have seen this video that went kind of viral. So yes, I'm a transgender woman. I applied to renew my passport and have it marked as female, and they refused, and they sent it back to me as male. He does not get to tell me who I am. Only I do. And now I'm at high risk of something bad happening to me if I were to travel abroad. This policy is dangerous, and it is unfair to every single trans, non-binary, or intersex person that there is. I'm an American, and yes, I'm transgender, but I deserve to be able to travel freely without fear or repercussion. We deserve the freedom to be ourselves, and no politician should be able to take that away. This is just a small part of a broad effort by the Trump administration to push trans people out of public life and act like we don't exist. They want to ban our healthcare, censor our speech, control our lives, and I'm not just gonna sit there and let it happen. We're not gonna sit here and let it happen. We deserve better than this because all people deserve better than this. And Donald Trump, we'll see you in court.
She really thought she cooked. We'll see you in court. You will, baby, and you're gonna lose. So, there is a lot to unpack from this video. First and foremost, this idea that Trump doesn't get to tell you who you are, you get to decide that. Sort of, but also sort of not. Like, you can feel whatever way you want about yourself, absolutely. But objective reality still does exist. And if you suddenly felt so strongly in your soul that you were truly a cat, the government would not have to affirm in your records that you are in fact a cat. And your gender identity may be as a trans woman, but your biological sex is still male. I've said for a long time, if they wanted to add like a gender identity section on these documents that could say trans woman and then sex, male, that would be fine with me. But biological sex is about the structure of your reproductive system, whether it's oriented towards the production of sperm or egg. And basically every human being, with the rarest of exceptions, with people with rare genetic conditions, is oriented either towards one or the other. They're either male or female, and there are thousands of biological differences that accompany that orientation. And just changing your appearance or how you feel inside, all of that, it's like power to you. Live your best life, whatever will make you happy, but it doesn't actually change your sex. So what you're demanding is the right to put incorrect information on your government documents. That's not a right. Yes, you absolutely have the freedom to be yourself, but you don't have the right to have any perception of yourself affirmed and embraced as fact by others or the government. So you've probably heard about Bitcoin and its consistent growth in value over time. And with inflation eroding the value of the dollar, you've probably wanted to get in on the Bitcoin action, but it just seems so complicated. That's where today's sponsor, Coinbits makes it incredibly simple. With Coinbits roundups, you don't even have to think about it. Just link your credit cards, debit cards, and bank accounts, and every time you make a purchase, Coinbits automatically rounds it up to the nearest dollar and saves your spare change in Bitcoin. It's literally the easiest way to start stacking Bitcoin. Set it, forget it, and watch it grow. You can sign up and get Bitcoin in less than 3 minutes. You can even set up automated savings plans, like a digital piggy bank that grows with Bitcoin's value. And your Bitcoin belongs to you. Withdraw it to your own wallet and stay in control of your money. Coinbits is family owned and made right here in America with world-class customer support. Stop missing out. Go to coinbits.app/Brad and start stacking Bitcoin effortlessly. That's coinbits.app/Brad or the link in the description or the pinned comment. Guys, this is not financial advice, and be sure to do your own research before making investment decisions. Now, back to today's show. Say, for example, a short man who's like 5'2" wants to put on his driver's license that he's 6'3". They don't have to do that. And they're not violating his rights if they don't. Now, as for the danger part of this,
I'm in danger now.
my heart goes out to this person and I want them to be safe like anyone, but I don't really buy this argument that you have to be able to put incorrect information about your sex on your documents or you're in danger. First and foremost, any country, and there are many countries like this, any country where you would literally be unsafe if it was known that you were transgender is not a country you should be traveling to. Like, that's not safe. I mean, you also have an online presence, so anyone who looked you up would figure it out. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. That doesn't make sense. And I can understand the idea that it would cause potential issues or confusion, that you may appear like a woman, but then your passport or whatever says male. But under your version that you're advocating for, there would be just as much confusion, if not more, because people who don't pass at all can still change their documents. So you have somebody who looks like a man, but their passport says female. So the same issue would still occur, probably at a higher frequency, but it just in the opposite direction. So there's no perfect solution here, and I err on the side of accuracy. Because these things, these concepts, and these records do exist for a reason. This information has to be accurate on government documents, not just for the purposes of identifying people, but also for things like enforcing basic common sense separation between males and females based on biology, not identity, in some contexts, like prisons, like keeping violent, biologically male criminals out of women's prisons. But if people can change their sex on their birth certificate, on their passport, on everything to whatever they feel like, even though can't actually change your literal sex, then that kind of becomes impossible to enforce. And that's crazy and not a path we should be going down. Don't even get me started on the whole non-binary thing. That one, that change, no human being's sex is X, okay? That should have never been an option on your passport. But guys, unless you're very new here, you will not be surprised to see the Lulu coming out from the alphabet community on TikTok. The ACLU, though, pushing patently absurd legal arguments like this is quite something. I mean, it's not that surprising these days because they've fallen off like nobody's business in recent years and become kind of a woke joke, but the absurdity of some of the details of this lawsuit is still something of a new low for them. Here's a video of the main lawyer on the case explaining why they're suing.
We filed another lawsuit against the Trump administration, challenging his executive order restricting transgender, non-binary, and intersex folks from obtaining passports with accurate gender markers. Without accurate IDs, trans people would be restricted from flying, from opening a bank account, from enrolling in school, and so much more. This executive order is one of a wave of actions President Trump has taken against the transgender community and our right to exist, and we will not allow it. We already filed a lawsuit against President Trump's restrictions on transgender healthcare, and we are not slowing down anytime soon.
Now, here's where things get really kind of insane, legally speaking. In their statement accompanying this lawsuit, the ACLU writes, "This lawsuit asserts that the State Department's actions violate transgender, intersex, and non-binary people's rights under the Due Process Clause of the U.S. Constitution for unlawfully restricting their freedom of movement, as well as their rights under the Equal Protection Clause by unjustifiably discriminating against them on the basis of their sex." There's more that we'll get into in a sec, but first let's talk about those 2 points. First, nobody's freedom of movement is being restricted. That doesn't make any sense. They can still get passports. Of course, if the Trump administration was saying trans people can't have passports, aren't allowed to go places, that would be crazy. That'd be discriminatory and it'd be dystopian, and their freedom of movement would be being restricted. But that is not what's happening here. They just have to have documents that correctly state their biological sex, and then they can still travel like anyone else. I genuinely don't understand what they're talking about. And I don't see how it's discriminating against them on the basis of their sex to accurately state their sex. I feel like we're in the upside down world. Like, I'm not living in the same reality as the woke people that wrote this document. And it actually gets somehow even more outlandish and absurd. The policy also violates the First Amendment of the US Constitution by requiring people to have a sex designation on their passport that conflicts with their identity and potentially outs them to others. This violates the First Amendment's protections against being required to convey governmental ideological messages they disagree with. So, I don't think stating a fact counts as an ideological message you're being forced to convey, though I guess I do acknowledge that to some extent the left no longer believes in biological reality when it comes to sex as a category of human distinction. So to that extent, is it ideological? Kind of, but only because they've made facts ideological. But guys, I'm a huge free speech person. That's like one of my core values. I am a diehard First Amendment type. So if their First Amendment rights were actually being violated, I would be defending them. No matter if I agree with you, if I think you're delulu, if I think you're amazing, I still support your First Amendment rights. But this argument that you have a First Amendment right to put incorrect information on your government identification is kind of wild. Like, go back to my example from earlier. If the government, if your local like DMV or whatever, won't let you put the height you identify as on your ID, are they violating your First Amendment rights now, according to the ACLU? If they won't let you put Caucasian when you're black on your documents, is that like an infringement on your freedom of speech? Like, what if somebody who has blue eyes wants to put on their driver's license that they have pink eyes, even though they don't have pink eyes? Do they have a right to force the government to put that incorrect information on that document? And if they don't, then their rights to their identity and their free speech are being violated? That's what they're arguing here. And that's insane. But there's actually a kind of sinister element to this that goes far beyond just one lawsuit or a few trans or non-binary identifying people who want to put stuff on their documents. This really is part and parcel of a broader movement on the progressive left in America that flatly denies the concept of biological sex as it exists. You know, I have friends who are transgender or transsexual, whatever you want to call it, who acknowledge, you know, like, I am a biological female, but I have this mental condition and I want to live as if I'm a male. And so they change their outer exterior. They want to be called he, him. None of that bothers me whatsoever. Like, go for it, knock yourself out within reason. I'll accommodate it. I'll call you what you want to be called. But we all know you're not literally a male just because you feel like one or want to or change your appearance. And my friends, they understand that. Like, they're still in touch with reality. They just want to live in a particular way and have a unique experience. But this other side of this community that is embodied and embraced by like huge swaths of the center left of American politics and the media and these activist organizations literally thinks biological sex is not real or is a social construct or some other absurd farcical idea like that. So much so that almost every Democrat in Congress supports legislation, the Equality Act, that redefines sex under federal law to mean gender identity or self-ID or whatever you feel like, effectively erasing biological reality from federal law. That is something that has some pretty profound ramifications and I think concerning implications for our society and for our country, and something that most people, most just common sense Americans who have no animus towards trans people or anyone else, don't support. And this absurd lawsuit is just the latest example of that ongoing division between those who acknowledge reality and those who are trying to actively deny it. What do you guys think? Do you support this trans woman and her lawsuit? Let me know in the comments below. Do hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet.